All right, so I have some time out in the shop today, and while I was on vacation, I was reviewing some posts on the CNC Labs forum and noticed one around the LED light setup. So originally, when the Super Longboard came out, as long as you were using an external power supply, or at least in the instructions, it said that you could power inject 5, 12, or 24 volts. So my original rail light string that ran under here was powered by 12 volts and an external power supply. After reading through the forum and the basically what they kind of found was that they were not recommending anything more than a 5-volt power supply due to the MOSFET, if I understood everything in the article correctly. So with that being said, I had a bit of an issue with that LED string anyways. It had a broken connector in the joint, and so I either needed to pull it down to solder it anyways, and I had some 5-volt strips, so I decided just to bring it back into support or make it as supported as possible and use a 5-volt, the recommended 5-volt power supply. At the same time, I did order, I'm hoping that with my new dust boot, I can figure out a way to incorporate a LED light ring. So I've got a LED NeoPixel 5-volt light string. So I figured since I was installing this, I'd run some wire. So I did sleeve a bunch of wire, and I've got a, sorry, I did sleeve a bunch of wire, and I've got a connector. I've got to figure out a way to mount those connectors, but I wanted it to be, easy to change out, easy to move around. But I did run a wire up to run the LED lights. So what I've got set up now is I'm using so that's my main 24-volt power supply that powers the system, 400 watt. And these are DC down converters. So this takes 24 volts in, and then you can set, using the little dial there, you can set an output. So I've got one set up for 12 volts and one set up for 5 volts. So the 5-volt is terminated over here to this plug, which will go on the Super Longboard. I have my 3-pin JST wire set up for both the ring, get it in there. So the ring and the rail are both wired up, and I'm just going to go through the settings for getting that connected. So on the board itself, if I'm going to configure this right now, so right now you can see there's one status LED running. So if I was to, this is where I have those terminated connections. I'll switch this out for a Phoenix later, but this is for the rail supply. So I did, I couldn't find these original ones to reprint one. I don't know where I got them from. I didn't design them, but I did redesign a new version, and I made it parametric in Fusion 360. So if you do have a 10 millimeter wide LED strip and you wanted to mount it, just uses some M3 hammer nuts and a couple bolts, and you can essentially mount them into this track. So I've got it set up so that you can just divide it up, whatever fits your printer. So if you have a smaller printer, you can make smaller sections. If you have a bigger printer, bigger sections. But it's designed in such a way that you can really just push it in with your finger. And it has a little groove that will hold the LED in. So I'll finish pushing that up, probably once I have both hands available. But basically you set one side and then just push on the LEDs and it should snap into place as you go. So I'll finish that after. As I say that, I do a few more. Okay, so to set up the LEDs, so once you've got them all wired, so again, I'm just using 3-pin JSTs. I've got them running through the cable chains, one up to the rail, on here, and then one through the larger drag chain up to the Z axis for the ring light. So with that, we would go into G Sender, and you would go to config. And in the config, once you're connected to your machine, you go to status lights. And by default, you're going to see status lights, ring light 0, rail 1. So the rail, this is the one rail light. So just so you know, that's where the 1 comes from. So I didn't actually count how many pixels I have on my rail. I think it's about 50. So I'm going to put that in as a starting point. And on my pixel, I believe it's 24, but I'm going to put 23 just to start. So when you're setting up your pixels for the first time, note that a hard reset of the controller is required for these changes. So when I click apply, it's going to update the EEPROM, but nothing's going to actually happen. No lights, no nothing. So I'm going to restart the controller, turn it off, turn it back on, and we can see, oh, I was wrong, it's a 24. You can see there's one pixel not lit up. So this is needs a small adjustment. But you can see on my rail, I don't have any lights at all. So the reason for that is I haven't plugged in my external power supply. So without that external power supply, in my case, a 5-volt connection coming from that buck converter, there are other options. You can use a separate 5-volt power supply. You could use like a phone charger supply. Just cut the end off a USB cable and use that. A few different ways to get it, but ultimately what you need to do is make sure that you have, see if I can get that to, you need to have 5 volts going in there. Okay, so I'm going to make one quick change. I'm going to go, since I haven't rebooted yet, I'll go to status lights. Since I know this is wrong by 1, I'm going to update the ring to 24. And tab, and we'll apply those settings. Okay, so it needs an update. So I'm going to power this off again. While it's off, I'm going to plug my 5-volt connection in. So making sure that the positive is facing the outside of the board. So it should face, the red should face here. The screw caps go down when you're plugging in. So I'll plug this in and I'll show you. So once this is plugged in and seated, you can see here, I do that, you can see the red on the right and the black on the left. And that's plugged in. So now when I turn this on, all of the ring lights should show up. So I'll turn this on, and part, or at least some, so all the ring LEDs are on. And if I go under, oh, we're missing a few. So I need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 more lights on the rail. Okay, so again, I'm gonna go into G Sender, connect to my machine because it disconnected when I restarted it. Once it's connected, status, I'm going to change 50 to 58. Now I'm pushing the limits. I think the recommended on the rail is 60. Some of that is for processing power, so there is a limit to what you should use there. So I think I'm just under it. Going to hit apply. Again, I need to power cycle the controller. And so now the ring is full and my light strip is full as well. So now when I connect to my machine, and it's connected, go to the carve window, I got the nice green in motion hue, which is awesome. Okay, and if I was to do something like hit the e-stop, everything turns red. Perfect. Okay. So I will undo that, reset that. So after the e-stop, you need to reset. So there we go. Now my LED lights are set up. So I can connect to my machine again, my status lights, and that's all good. So yeah, I will put the link to this on my Maker World account. Again, if you wanted to print these, if you have, depending on your access and how big it is, you can print as many as you need and just butt them together like I've done here. And then again, the LEDs, you just kind of push in one edge and start pushing in the other side, and they just snap into place. So right now I'm not even using the adhesive, just simply the friction fit of the strip into the channel. And these are BTF lights. I've used this brand of lights. I'll link it in my video as well. But I've used this brand of lights on lots of projects. I find them to be a very good light. They have pretty much lights for every combination. So 5 volt, 12 volt, 24, anything you could really want. And like I said, I find their strips to be good quality, and yeah, so I highly recommend them, and I'll link to them as well. So that is getting my lights mounted and set up on my Ultimate Bee CNC with my super longboard. Awesome. Thanks for watching. Okay, so sorry, I lied, and I have one other feature to show off. So in here, so I have a macro called lights on and lights off. So if you were looking when I was down here before, you can see there's a little yellow strip there. So I'm gonna tap lights on, and you can see I've now got a white light LED strip just stuck up in the channel right now. So what I've done for that is that's a 24 volt strip that's just a simple on off, and I'm using one of the switch connectors on the super long board to run that. So 24 volts coming off of the main power supply, and just using the switch connector to interrupt that signal, so that if I wanted just white light, I can go and turn that on, or extra light basically if I need it, if my workpiece is dark or I'm working in the shop and it's dark, I can turn those on separately. And then I have a separate macro here that just turns the lights off, and that turns that strip off. So then it goes back to that blue color that the RGB LEDs create. If I click on again, you can see now I have more of a white light. Again, easier to see some of the work pieces, doesn't cast as much shadow, that sort of thing. So I don't know if I'll use it a ton, but I had some extra LED strip and thought it would be fun to try. And so far I found it reasonably helpful, given, like I said, the fact that the RGB lights are quite blue cold. This just gives me another option for lighting in the shop. So that was my one amendment that I forgot to mention. So now I'm done. Thank you for your time.